And the big story today, folks, Biden finally pulling the plug on Russian oil, warning Americans about even higher gas prices. As I predicted yesterday, I told you this was going to happen. We broke an all-time record this morning, $4.17 per gallon for regular gasoline, leaping over the 2008 previous record of $4.11 per gallon. And the news is getting worse and worse because today the price for a barrel of crude oil is $125 per barrel. 1 month ago, crude was $85 per barrel. That means in 30 days, crude oil has soared 47%. Now, that $4.17 gallon gas seems high, right? It is, but given the run-up in crude oil, the price for gas should right now be $5.17 a gallon. And here's why. Allow me to take you through the refining process. We use gasoline in our cars, trucks, motorcycles, and airplanes, gasoline and fuel. That's refined at several huge refineries scattered around the United States. Now, these mega refineries are basically distilleries. They heat crude oil until it's distilled into gasoline, diesel fuel, heating oil, and jet fuel. These refineries run through hundreds of thousands of barrels per day each. The largest refinery in the United States is actually fully owned by Saudi Arabia, and that alone is insane. But anyway, the Saudi Aramco refinery runs through 635,000 barrels of oil every single day in and day out. They can't stop the process. So they need to continuously restock their feedstock, which is crude. So they have to buy oil today and tomorrow and the next day, no matter what the prevailing price is. And today, that price is $125 per barrel, which means as the refining process takes place, the refineries run through last month's oil at last month's cheaper oil price, $85 per barrel, and start refining more and more expensive oil as they work through their cheaper crude price towards the more expensive oil crude price. They have to raise their prices for the gasoline they sell. They have to make money. No one is in business to lose money, and they won't. And this process is exactly why prices have to rise well beyond $5 a gallon soon, no matter what happens next. These refineries have to continually buy crude oil, and those higher prices today for crude will absolutely be turned into higher and higher gasoline prices for the foreseeable future. Has to happen. It's not rocket science. It's Econ 101. And the only way to ease the pain at the pump we're about to experience, guaranteed, is to be reigniting America's crude oil production. Since the Biden administration took over, and this is the facts, folks, America has lost 2 million barrels of oil production per day. In a little more than a year, we lost 2 million barrel production per day. We use 20 million barrels per day, so we've gone from self-supplier, completely satisfying our refineries' demands for U.S. oil and gas production, to a defensive posture for oil. It's absolutely on the Biden administration that we now have to send a U.S. delegation to Venezuela to beg the communist warlord Maduro to pump more oil and sell it to us at $125 a barrel. And by going from a neutral supply-demand position to needing 2 million barrels per day replaced. We empower oil producers like Iran, who literally calls for death to America, and Russia, who's quite willing to threaten us with war and maybe nuclear war, and who, by the way, Russia today warned of a $300 barrel of oil. Do you understand that for a second? A $300 barrel would translate into a $12 gallon of gasoline. $12 a gallon. $250 to fill the car. I'm not going to go into all the various ways to avoid this hellish scenario. For one, we've been talking about Keystone. Absolutely, yes, restart Keystone. But again, Keystone is Canadian oil. I suggest we open our Alaska North Slope to drilling fully. We can open our vast natural gas resources in Pennsylvania. Did you know we have a natural gas bubble sitting just offshore Louisiana with literally trillions of cubic feet of natural gas? These measures would all solve the price issue for gasoline. These are just some of the vast resources we have available to us as consumers. If government would get out of the way, Jen Psaki yesterday showed how ill-equipped this administration really is with oil.
Let me give you the facts here, and I know that can be inconvenient, but I think they're important in this moment. To the contrary, we have been clear that in the short-term supply must keep up with the demand. We are, and here and around the world, will we make the shift to a secure, clean energy future. We are one of the largest producers with a strong domestic oil and gas industry. We have actually produced more oil. It is at record numbers, and we will continue to produce more oil.
Yeah, those are all lies. Those are all lies. I just showed you. The reality is we've lost 2 million barrels of oil capability since the Biden administration took over. You can't say we're at record numbers. We're not. We were, and we're no longer because of their policies. We have the capabilities to produce all the oil and gas we need. We were there a year ago, and we could get back there in another year if the Biden administration wasn't caving to the progressive wing of the Democrat Party. The massive pain we're experiencing at the pump is 100% a function of politics and not a function of oil product productivity or capability. We're capable of a $2 gallon gasoline. We're incapable of getting our president to lift a finger against the squad and in favor of Americans across the country. Bottom line, we're headed for much more pain at the pump and the grocery aisle, guaranteed, and all because Biden, Harris, and Buttigieg.
It contains incentives to make it more affordable to buy an electric vehicle, up to a $12,500 discount in effect for families thinking about getting an EV. Families that once they own that electric vehicle will never have to worry about gas prices again.
That's great, Pete. That's great. Buy a $56,000 car, because that's the average price of an electric vehicle in America. That is idiotic in itself. Most Americans don't have an extra $56K sitting around. Not to mention, Pete, you do know how the whole electric car thing works, don't you? You plug the car in to get the electricity for energy. But you do know that electricity is generated with coal and natural gas, fossil fuels. These people are in over their heads, folks. It's embarrassing. A small-town mayor as transportation secretary, and a former governor with absolutely zero experience in the energy industry. That's our energy secretary, Jennifer Granholm. And again, we showed it to you yesterday. Here she is when asked a simple yet extremely important question about solving the energy crisis.
I had the magic wand on this.
No, not a magic wand. You're the energy secretary. You have tools at your disposal. Open up our lands. Open up our absolute vast resources. Let it go. It's not funny, Madam Secretary. This is not funny. And this is not funny. Nope, it's not funny at all. The gross incompetency of this administration is alarming, and no one in D.C. seems to be worried enough to make any changes. Instead, these clowns smile and laugh on the outside while they're frozen in fear on the inside. And guess what? Rightly so.